Everything has changed since Jim Jones's trial, but what you're going to learn will be incredible. It was Cameron who dropped a courtroom revelation that could destroy everyone. Believe it, the trial's focus may have been Jim Jones, but who could have anticipated Cameron disclosing Chrissy's secret? A secret that will turn the world upside down. A secret kept hidden from everyone's awareness is about to be made public. And this twist, it involves Chrissy. Jim tried to stay out of the spotlight, but now it might turn to his disadvantage. As you've heard, this case isn't just about Jim Jones. Will there be retaliation? Is this story limited to the legal system? No, it's flooding the streets. Just in case you think this is only another legal battle, the consequences this time are absolutely not what you'd expect. The courtroom is intense. The doors swing open and everything goes silent. The spotlight is on. This is the biggest trial of the year. Jim, I can change anything. Jones is facing allegations that could demolish his entire legacy. Yet amid the chaos, Cameron dropped a bombshell. Still, no one took him seriously. But you know Cam, he's always the first to stir controversy, the first to speak his mind. And what he revealed about Chrissy Lampkin? No one saw it coming. Suddenly, Jim Jones was no longer the only issue. The courtroom, once focused on his alleged crimes, shifted towards something much bigger: accusations that sparked a much greater dispute. Cameron set the drama in motion. Chrissy's deep secrets were exposed, secrets no one else had dared to tell. Here's the scenario. The world is watching this trial. Everyone thought it was about Jim, legal issues involving his company, questions about his integrity, his television show appearances, financial allegations, even disputes over a Dipset photo with Cameron and others. But in the courtroom, something unexpected happened. Instead of focusing solely on Jim's allegations, the court took a sharp turn. Cameron made the most shocking move. He exposed Chrissy's secret. And this wasn't a minor reveal, it was something none of us expected. You're probably wondering, what could go so wrong? Is this just another chapter in the Jim and Cam saga? Here's where the scandal really begins. Jim Jones may be many things, but Chrissy Lampkin, his longtime partner, was hiding something huge. The reality TV star had concealed this secret for years. It was dark, it was damaging, and Cameron brought it all to light in one jaw-dropping moment. So what was Cameron even doing in court? What he revealed triggered a chain reaction. People were shocked. Chrissy's hidden past, and the worst parts of it, were suddenly public knowledge. Cameron claimed she had participated in shady dealings. Her involvement with questionable individuals wasn't just speculation. You could feel the courtroom's tension. The accusation was crystal clear. Chrissy, long seen as Jim's biggest supporter, had allegedly been working both sides. Cameron didn't just say she was involved in suspicious finances, he dropped a startling revelation. Chrissy had secretly been collaborating with powerful people, the kind of people who could ruin everything. Jim didn't even know. So why now? Why would Cameron make this move while Jim was on trial? Was it to expose the crew's internal issues? Or was there something deeper? Let's rewind a few years. Cameron, Jim Jones, and the rest of the Dipset crew had built an empire. They made music, shaped culture, and shared brotherhood, at least on the surface. But cracks were forming. Cameron and Jim hadn't spoken much. Their relationship was strained. The crew was battling internal conflict. So, when Jim was vulnerable on trial, Cameron saw his moment to expose Chrissy's involvement in something darker. This wasn't just about her personal issues. Cameron linked her to criminal organizations, secretive, manipulative groups pulling strings from behind the scenes. He suggested this revelation could destroy more than just Jim and Chrissy. It could dismantle entire reputations. Think about Jim's position in the music world. His fans had been loyal, but now, everything is uncertain. So how did Chrissy react to all this? Caught off guard, this wasn't something she expected. But could there be more to the story than what anyone's admitting? Let's pause and reflect on how huge this all is. Cameron's statement didn't just shift the trial, it exposed a web of betrayal. What was Chrissy really doing? How deep did the conspiracy go? Was Jim just a pawn in a much larger game? And what does this mean for Jim and Chrissy's relationship? This trial could lead to a permanent separation, not just romantically, but publicly. Did Jim fall for Chrissy unknowingly? Or is Chrissy simply a victim of dangerous circumstances? We're only scratching the surface here. There's more to Dig into Cameron's courtroom confession might be just the beginning. When it landed, it detonated. The world saw it all. Chrissy Lampkin, once Jim Jones's rock, suddenly found herself at the center of the storm. And this wasn't about shock value alone. We're talking about hidden networks, underground systems, and secret schemes. Chrissy was once portrayed as a devoted partner. Now she's facing serious accusations. Cameron didn't make baseless claims. He spoke of real ties to dangerous people capable of ruining lives, and Chrissy was allegedly working with them. Even more disturbing, Cameron claims Jim knew nothing. He was portrayed as a man unaware, loving, and loyal. Now, his life is an open book, whether he wants it to be or not. Why would Chrissy, someone who had been with Jim for years, align with people who could destroy him? Fans are asking the same thing. The public reaction? Outrage? Disbelief? Betrayal? Jim had always been their guy, a loyal artist who stood firm. Now he's caught in something far bigger than he ever expected. Leaked reports suggest Chrissy may have used Jim, exploiting his fame to climb the ladder while secretly undermining him. Supporters who once adored the couple now wonder, is this what loyalty looks like? The media frenzy is wild. Every headline spins a different angle. And this is just the beginning. Chrissy was accused of being a gold digger, by others playing the role of a puppet master and pulling Jim's background strings to move her personal goals forward. But in reality, no one was truly aware of what to believe. The narrative was changing on an hourly basis, and with each new piece of information that became available, it seemed as though the story was becoming more intricate. But this is the point at which things began to shift. Cameron didn't just stop with accusing Chrissy of something severe. He went deeper. He started to reveal some really disturbing information about Jim Jones and things that were inevitable in his past. Cameron also claimed that Jim wasn't just unaware of Chrissy's actions, he was ignorant of his own problems. According to Cameron, Jim had been mistreating him, making confusing decisions for many years, engaging in unethical social interactions and transactions with people who were playing their own game, using him as a component. These were people with their own objectives, explanations for why those who didn't care for Jim still wanted to use him to further his career. In a bold move, Cameron named names, important names you wouldn't expect to hear in the same sentence as Jim Jones. These were the kinds of names that didn't just symbolize illegal conduct, but also subpar business practices, companies that operated in secret, removed from the limelight. And for Jim, this wasn't just business. It was personal. According to Cameron, Jim had been encircled by people who had previously been feeding him misleading information and directing him down a path certain to cause issues. And those challenges ultimately came knocking at his door. And you know what's even more shocking? Cameron didn't just vaguely speak about these connections, he gave thorough details about Jim's true level of involvement. He explained how Jim had spent years pursuing these interests without even realizing it. So he couldn't tell whether it was ignorance, denial, or outright contempt for the consequences. Jim was facing the fallout of choices that stemmed from the people Chrissy had been secretly collaborating with. Think about it. It's one thing to become enmeshed in something you didn't recognize. It's another entirely when you realize the people closest to you, the ones you trusted most, were the ones in control. This mess wasn't just about love or betrayal. Cameron hinted that Chrissy's betrayal wasn't solely about personal gain. It was business. And Jim, enchanted by love, had gotten caught up in a game he didn't even realize he was playing. But what's worse is that more was in danger than anyone could have possibly handled. Over time, the courtroom drama made it clear. This wasn't just one person's mistake. It was the fall of an entire empire. Jim's career wasn't the only thing on the decline. Everything they had built, everything they had fought for, was now at risk. As the legal drama unfolded, it became clear this wasn't just a private scandal. It went beyond Jim Jones's public persona, beyond a ruined reputation, or Chrissy Lampkin being exposed for her secret actions. It concerned the entire empire they had founded, now being torn apart. There was chaos among the fan base. The industry was watching. Law enforcement was watching. The repercussions had only just begun to come to light. And this was the reality for everyone trying to steer clear of the debate. This wasn't just a personal issue, it was a ticking time bomb for their careers. People who thought the heat would blow over were proven wrong the moment Cameron went public. The world was no longer witnessing just a couple's personal problems, they were observing the collapse of a whole empire. Jim Jones was a multifaceted individual. He was a cultural icon in the hip-hop world. And here he was, caught in the middle of a dire legal circumstance where criminal action was inevitable. Immediately following Cameron's statements, attorneys were actively preparing for charges. These weren't just rumors. Teams were reevaluating past connections with questionable people and money trails hinting at the potential for criminal liability. And let's not forget the federal investigations that began circling. Law enforcement, already alerted by Cameron's revelations, had started probing into Jim's earlier affiliations. Federal agents launched financial investigations, money laundering, racketeering, and potentially even more serious crimes. What did Jim learn from all of this? And Chrissy? The most obvious result. Both Jim and Chrissy might be facing serious legal repercussions. We're talking years in prison if things didn't go their way. Whether or not Jim was directly involved, his associations with the wrong people and failure to address red flags could be enough to defeat him legally and professionally. But there was something even more significant at play. The same industry that had celebrated them for years had started to turn against them. Co-conspirators were retreating. Labels were erecting barriers. No one wanted to attach themselves to a sinking ship. And the fallout? Let's talk about the controversy. Brands, companies, and networks that had partnered with Jim and Chrissy were now asking an uncomfortable question. Do we continue to support them when their entire reputation is on the line? For someone like Jim Jones, once seemingly unbeatable, the brutal truth hit hard. Calls from sponsors and partners started drying up. People were running away from the association, unsure of what would come next. The cascading effect was expected to have a massive impact. Rumors circulated that Jim was in danger of losing several deals, including endorsements and collaborations with some of the most powerful names in the business. Recognizable names in the industry felt the pressure mounting, and everyone around Jim felt it too. Chrissy, in particular, wasn't doing well. Even worse, the media had already branded her as one of the most formidable adversaries. Years of allegiance and support for Jim were now being overshadowed by allegations about her supposedly concealed life. And it wasn't just the fans anymore. Insiders in the industry began to oppose her, questioning her loyalty and intentions. She was being rejected by the public. The romantic story admired by many was now being picked apart. Critics began accusing her of using Jim for personal gain, leveraging their relationship as a launchpad for her own career. It was a regrettable turn of events. The very people who once praised her strength now saw her as a manipulative figure, someone who had been playing a long game all along. And let's not even talk about Cameron. As soon as he opened his mouth, things intensified. Known for his vicious remarks and unfiltered attitude, he wasn't holding back. It was as if he was trying to tear down everything Jim had built. But what exactly was Cameron doing? Was he seeking revenge, or was he trying to keep Jim from seeing the truth? The truth Cameron himself may have been blind to. Let's look at the possibilities. There could be short-term legal consequences if Chrissy's past relationships were truly unhealthy or criminal in nature. She could face serious charges: conspiracy, fraud, racketeering. These weren't minor allegations. They could result in her being imprisoned for years. For Jim, things were even more complicated. He could be indirectly charged due to his connections with well-known offenders, individuals entangled in a web of illegal activities. It's possible Jim was completely unaware, but in the eyes of the law, ignorance is no excuse. And so, Jim was forced to confront a terrible truth. Then there's the public relations nightmare. Once upon a time, Jim Jones was untouchable. But now, his loyal supporters were growing curious, even suspicious. The rapper, once a hero to many, now had to face the fallout of betrayal, manipulation, and long-buried secrets. But the most important question remains: can they recover from this? Will Jim and Chrissy ever be able to rebuild their connection, their careers, and their lives after all that has been revealed? Or is this truly the end of an era? There's no doubt this trial, the debates, and the explosive revelations will go down in hip-hop history. Jim Jones's name will forever be linked to one of the most shocking chapters the culture has ever seen. And the courtroom drama? It's still unfolding. The ongoing court cases continue, and fans are left to pick up the pieces. Will Jim Jones and Chrissy Lampkin ever bounce back? Only time will tell. But for now, the truth is out. And there's no going back. You now know the shocking truth about Jim Jones and Chrissy's crumbling empire. It makes you wonder, what does the future hold for them? Can they survive this? Or is their reign officially over? Will the legal consequences outweigh the drama itself? And most importantly, just how deep does this fallout go? This is a developing story, and you don't want to miss a second of it. Drop a comment below. Do you think this was a deliberate takedown? Did Cameron truly ruin Jim's career, or is there more to the story than meets the eye? We want to hear from you. If this story shocked you, like this video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to stay updated. We're continuing to uncover more explosive stories like this one, and you won't want to miss what's next. Turn on notifications so you don't miss another moment. This is only the beginning. There's much more to expose. Thank you for watching, and stay vigilant. Because in the world of celebrity drama, truth is stranger than fiction.